God is good. And all the time? Amen, amen. It is good to see you all, brothers and sisters. Thank you for being here. I also wanted to thank you because I too went through a health crisis a number of years ago, 3 years ago now, with cancer. And many of you were praying for me and for my family. And I'll tell you, when you go through that, you can feel the prayers. It's hard to explain unless you've gone through something like that, but you can feel you're being lifted by those prayers. And so thank you so much. I'm doing fine. Blood tests are all coming back good. No cancer. And so got a few more years left in me. So we're excited about that. My area is the South Central region, which includes Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and then a little bit of Arkansas, and a little bit of Missouri, and a little bit of Iowa. And so that's the region that I serve in. It's all or part of 10 states, right down the middle of the United States. 42 congregation and fellowship groups. Average weekly attendance is 750 people. Just over 1 million square miles, which I don't fly, I drive. And so I spend a lot of time just doing loops, visiting my pastors and visiting congregations. And so it's a very large area. The challenges for us in the South Central is distance. We are spread out so far apart. A lot of our congregations aren't close by to one another. So there's a real feeling a lot of times of being alone and kind of separated. Also, another one of our challenges is the age of our pastor. We have quite a few aging pastors who have dedicated their retirement time to be able to love and serve their congregation. And we couldn't do it without them. And we deeply appreciate them. The opportunity we have in the region is we have faithful people who deeply love God and also love others. And I'll tell you, on that foundation, once you know who you are in Jesus Christ, it's amazing what God can do with that. And so we're excited about what's going on. I want to let you know we have 3 camps in the South Central. SEP Rockies, which I think is having their 17th camp this summer. Also Crosswalk Camp in Oklahoma, and we just finished our 30th camp. Mountain View Adventure in Wyoming is a brand new camp that will be starting up in 2018. Rick and Amber Good are going to be the camp directors for that, and we're really excited about it. It will be a camp that is directly tied in to 2 of the congregations that are in that area. It'll become part of their ministry to be able to not only take kids to camp, but be able to work with them throughout the year. So that'll be more of a tie-in than just sending them twice a year to a camp. We have one mission trip, Crossing Borders, by Lee and Sue Berger, and they are coming up on their 24th mission trip, which will be this winter. They do it twice a year. They go for like 9 days during the summer, and they go over and they help to build homes, they help to churches, orphanages. They work in all kinds of different areas, and it depends on the year, and the time of the year will depend on what the different programs they have. They also do one in the winter time where they take shoe boxes across the border to needy children, and it's amazing to be able to watch their faces as they receive those boxes that some of you all put together and rallied to Texas to be able to get across the border. Some of the projects are the building. They are working on some churches that are down there. They're also help people build their homes. They have worked with several orphanages to be able to go in and improve the orphanage, to be able to play with the kids, spend time with them, build relationships with them, but also to begin to help them to have a little better structure. And they've been a real blessing to the people there in Mexico for many years now. Engaging our communities is one of the highest priorities we have in our region. It is something that we're taking very seriously. In fact, as I travel around, it typically is the #1 topic that pastors want to talk about. And most of the time, I'm not the one bringing it up. They are. And they are trying to figure out how can we love our community around our church, depending on the size of the congregation or the fellowship group. We're 5 people. Can we do that? Absolutely, there are ways you can do that. Whether you're 5 or you're 105 people, it doesn't matter. And whether you are in your 20s or you are in your 80s, it doesn't matter. There are things that you can do to be Christ to your community, to love on them, to let that love of God that comes into us flow out into them. That's what the church is. It's not about going to church. It's not about attending church. It's about being the church. Amen? Being the church. Letting that love, that compassion, that unconditional love be able to reach out to those around who are God's beloved children, who may not know who they are in Christ and what He's done on their behalf. So engaging the community is something that we are serious about. In fact, there's 3 questions I ask each of my pastors in the region. And I really don't let them off the hook because I think they're important questions. One is, do the people who live around your church know you're there? Or do you just drive in from all over, commute in to a church, and kind of shine the light in each other's eyes, and then go back home? Or do the people who live around your church building, do they actually know you're there? Second question, if you were to move suddenly, would the people around your church realize you moved? Would they even notice? And number 3, if you were to move suddenly, would the people around your church miss you? If the answer is no to any of those questions, then I have to ask the questions, are we really being the church to our community? Or are we just playing church? Are we just doing it for ourselves? That's not the call of the walk with Jesus Christ. It is about esteeming others better than ourselves. It's about being living sacrifices. It's about looking for the lost, the hurting, and being able to reach out to them. So these 3 questions are ones that I ask over and over again, and it will be something that I will continue to ask. I could sit up here for probably an hour and a half to talk about all the different congregations, because many of them are engaging their community in different ways. But because of the time frame, I'm only going to highlight a few. One of them is South Central, is in Big Sandy, Texas. They probably have been engaging their community longer and more effectively than any other congregation in the South Central region. Because of the small townness of it, they have really been able to reach out to the different clubs, the Rotary clubs. They are involved in parades in the city. They bring their city together very nicely. And it's not just a matter of coming together for a dinner, but it's engaging them on a regular basis. They too participate in the shoebox ministry. As you can see the crowd up above, I think that's the Rotary Club that's being brought in for them to meet together. They also have what they call a midweek youth night. And they bring in young people from all over the community of Big Sandy and surrounding little communities. And they come in on a Wednesday night and they stay there. They have games, they have activities, they have a little bit of a devotional, they have some worship, they have breakouts, and they are averaging 50 teens every single week. And they are sometimes up to 90. And the biggest problem they're having is trying to connect those people on Wednesday night with their Sunday congregation. The people on Sunday, they're deeply involved with it in Wednesday night, but trying to get those young people to be able to come on Sunday is a bit of a challenge. So you could be praying about that for them. But many of you would love to have the problem of having 50 teens that you're trying to figure out how to connect to your church, wouldn't you? Yeah. This is one of their Wednesday night groups with their youth. They're all eating. The next one I would like to talk about is Kansas City. Let me go back. Big Sandy is Jerome and Helen Ellard. He originally was done by Sonny and Jane Parsons. It's been handed off to Jerome and Helen Ellard, and they're doing a fantastic job. Kansas City is Jason and Julie France, and they too are really beginning to get out in their community. They've tried different ways to be able to get out and just kind of testing the water. Last week, they held an Outside the Walls event in Kansas City at their church building. It was a huge success. They had 30 or 40 people from the community who haven't come to their church come to the event. And it just went extremely, extremely well. So I'm really proud of them for reaching out and doing that and trying to figure out ways to connect to the community and to love on them. Let me go back, sorry. Not too far. This is Dallas Central, Pathways of Grace. They have been also engaging their community very effectively for a number of years. They do a thing called Share Fair, where they come in and they have clothing available for people. They have all different people coming in from the medical background to be able to offer screenings and health tests. They also have a food bank that they offer to their community and are able to give out food to those in the community who are in need. This is where we held our first Outside the Walls event in the region, and it went extremely well. This is Gabriel and Christine Oji, who pastor this congregation. Have a wonderful leadership team. And then I would like to talk to you about Denver North, pastored by Mark and Joanne McCulley. They are really in the early stages of getting out in their community, engaging them. They have done some food things, they've gone to some local schools, they've had a little bit of outreach, and they're just really praying about it, asking God to reveal to them how they can best connect. And sometimes, guys, it's a matter of, you've got to determine what your target community is. Because just because you're planted somewhere, or you found a building somewhere, or you found a good deal in a building somewhere, doesn't necessarily mean that's your target community. And there is a difference between targeting your community and being in your target community. You need to find where God is calling you based on the gifts of your congregation, on your leadership. Where can you best serve? Where can you best engage the community? So Denver is in that process of defining that, figuring that out, and feeling how they can do this the most effectively with their group. This is Houston. This is Mark and Deb Mounts. Mark and Deb Mounts came to Outside the Walls in Dallas a couple of years ago, and they went back so on fire that they actually just began to pray, where do you want us to go, God? They ended up giving up a really nice church building that they were sharing with another church, and they went and got a church in the community where they felt God was calling them. And it is a very poor community where there are a lot of needs. But I'm really proud of the congregation because they gave up their comfort to be able to go to a place that's a little bit sketchy, a little bit dangerous, to be able to love on that community. They've gotten involved to a school that's attached to where the church property is, and they just jumped in and they've built the relationships with the school. They're going in and giving supplies to the school, to the kids, also providing food for them. A lot of them don't have food, and it's just been a really wonderful journey for them. It's been great to watch Mark and Deb just come alive in this project. Wichita has also been engaging their community. In fact, they just replanted. They bought a church building in a community that they feel that they can really engage and get out and go door to door and spend time engaging the community. In fact, it just closed, I think, last week. And they're excited to get back after this conference to get onto it and get involved in that community. So I'm really excited about what they have. They the pastoral team, Kurt and Laura Hayes, Ross and Rhonda Hayes, they all live just about 9 miles from this location. They shop in this location. They have some members that live close by. So they're excited about this as well. And then Oklahoma City, where I pastor, we've been engaging a community where we are in Richland for about 2 years, and going out door to door and having block parties and doing all of that. Not having a lot of success as far as numbers coming in, but the community knows us, they love us, and they definitely would miss us if we left. God's beginning to open a few doors, but what we've found is that the neighborhood where I live, which is only about 5 miles away, we actually have 18 of our members who have moved into my neighborhood. And I didn't ask one of them to move in. So God's doing something, and all of a sudden they would show up and say, hey, I just wanted you to know we bought a house in Surrey Hills. I go, oh, wow. So 18 of our congregation live within a mile. And so we're really praying about it. We're now not only serving the community where our church is, but now we're starting to serve the community where I live, and we're beginning to get real traction. They're inviting us, the Homeowners Association is inviting us to be a part of the different projects that are going on. We had a ball game that we sponsored. I had 72 people from the community come out for that. We also did a park, where there's a park in the community that needed to be renovated, and they asked us to head that up with the community, and so we partnered up with them for that event. I'm excited to see what God has in store for us next. As churches begin to engage more and more in their communities, as people begin to share the love of Christ with those around us, as we begin to be seen as a light on the hill at each of our churches, where people see that's the place where Jesus has placed his name. I'm excited what we have in store ahead of us. We too are working on an MTC, lots of prayer right now going on about it. Trying to define exactly the best location for that, but we hope to have that up within the next 2 to 3 years. So that's the South Central. Thank you very much. Love you all. Thank you, and have a good rest of the conference.